So welcome to the St. Patrick's Day version of Invitation to Tomorrow Today. There's some things you ought to know. We are going, Rick Andrews, and I'm getting a headache. Or either that or I'm falling off my chair. Uh, we are going to be recording this session. So if you do not want your beautiful face to be on the video, definitely stop your video feed immediately, if not sooner. Also, you will all automatically be muted so that we don't have any of that background chatter. But if you have questions for our presenter, Lance, you may type them into chat to everyone. Roberta's going to be sort of fielding them, but Lance will be getting them as well. Um, now, we know you guys know we do this every month, and you'll be hearing about our next one at the end of all of this. But before I turn the show over to the co-host, there are a couple of other people that I would like to introduce. One is my co-founder, Susie Ogahara from Panasonic, whom you know, and Heidi Hirsch from Reveal Studios, both co-founders of ITTT. And our financial expert, Ann Corcoran, is here somewhere. I saw her name pop up. So I'd also like you to know that Tim Murphy, who has worked with me since he was in diapers, is taking care of all of the electronic stuff, and he's a whiz. We could not do it without him. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the co-founder of Invitation Today, Tomorrow. It's Invitation to Tomorrow Today. You got it wrong, Roberta. You wrote it down. And my co-host.
I will see if you're paying attention.
Oh, well, apparently I wasn't. There she goes. She is a business development catalyst, and I feel the best in the business. She makes things happen. Here she is, Roberta Perry.
Woo! Thank you so much, Norma Lynn. Wow, what a day. It is thrilling to have so many people on our monthly showcase. It's great to have so many Toastmasters as well as non-Toastmasters today to hear Lance Miller. You're in for a treat. As FYI, Norma Lynn Cutler is the owner of Cutler Enterprises. Tin is going to put her information into the chat to contact, as well as Heidi and Susie, in case you want to reach out to any of us to contact after this presentation. Again, as Norma Lynn said, if you do not want to be recorded, since we've started the recording, please turn off your camera, and then that way you will only see your gorgeous name up on the screen and not your beautiful face. Our program format is pretty simple. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, Lance Miller. He will be presenting for 15 minutes, and then it'll come back to me. I will then ask him questions. I'm going to blend the questions you put into the chat, as well as questions we've prepared in advance that he does not know about, but we did prepare some questions for him, always trying to stump Lance Miller. In the recent past, Corey Padvin, and I don't know if Corey's on because I know he's attending the Nevada Legislative Conference today, but if Corey is on, hello, Corey. Corey Padvin is a principal with T2 Marketing International. They are experts in the field of marketing, especially social media, and have been for about the past 30 years. Corey is also the author of Marketing for Millennials for Us Dummies. Corey was our guest speaker for two of our showcases. One was on how to find a job using LinkedIn. The other was secrets of how to get new business on LinkedIn. It was just, oh, there's Corey. Hey, Corey.
In and out today, but happy to be here.
Great, thanks, Corey. And after Corey's last presentation on LinkedIn, we decided that, wow, we don't know enough about how do we talk to other people about ourselves. It's always difficult. So as soon as we came up with that, oh my gosh, we've got to figure that out, I immediately thought of our communication expert and my dear friend, Lance Miller. Now, I met Lance 29 years ago when he was just a pup. Maybe he was only 30 at the time, when he joined our Toastmasters Club, Renaissance Speakers here in Los Angeles. And for those of you who are not familiar with Toastmasters, it's a worldwide nonprofit organization in 143 countries over 15,000 clubs with the purpose of developing our communication and leadership skills. Feel free to Google toastmastersinternational.org and find a club that's near you. Just as fun fact, a trivia fact, not only am I still a Toastmaster, but Lauren Lilin was a Toastmaster, as was Heidi. And though we've been trying to get Susie Oglahar to be a Toastmaster, she instead served up her 19-year-old daughter, and she's in one of Ming's clubs. And we love Jessica Oglahar as a brand new Toastmaster into the organization. Well done, Ming. Thanks for being her mentor. Now, back to Lance, because I know he's just antsy to get going. Lance is an entrepreneur, very successful one. He's an author, sailor, pilot, global traveler. I think up to now he's been in, I think, something like 70 plus countries. And for us Toastmasters, he is the 2005 Toastmasters International World Champion of Public Speaking, beating out over 30,000 other contestants. So please welcome with Elevate Your Elevator Pitch, Lance Miller. Yay, Lance. All yours, Lance.
Roberta, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here today as well. And I do primarily two things in my life. I have an international speaking business focusing on teaching leadership and team building skills. And then I practice what I preach. I have a management company that we specialize in startups and really business expansion for stuck and stagnant companies. And in both those cases, where we start is with message clarity, making sure that everybody understands what we're doing and that what is being communicated is what is being understood and was what is needed. And that is one of the biggest problems I've seen in organizations. It's one of the biggest problems I've seen with speakers. I do a lot of speech coaching. People stand up and don't say what they actually mean, or they don't say things that can be understood. Now, today, we're going to be applying that to how do you introduce yourself? And, you know, which is known as the elevator pitch. We send it out to thousands of people. And we want that one message to communicate something to thousands of people. What if we had the opportunity to send a unique message to every single individual? Not only that, we gave them an opportunity to respond to us, and we had an opportunity to respond back. That would be some phenomenal promotional material to have. And that is basically what we have with an elevator pitch, or when we meet people and we can actually have a dialogue with them. And the one thing I want to start with is the whole concept of an elevator pitch or introducing yourself to someone. This is live communication. This is not something that we've memorized. And every time somebody asks us what we do, we say, well, I'm an original equipment manufacturer, engineer, specializing in pneumatic and hydraulic line extensions for assembly line processes in the automotive and IT industries. We don't sit down and just say this rote thing every time. It's live communication. And with that, it depends on the person we're talking to and the setting we're in. Not one communication is right for every individual we meet or the setting that we're in. So as an example, if you were brought in as a group of people to meet the CEO of a Fortune 50 company and he says, Joe, what do you do? That's going to be a different response than if you're at an industry mixer and you've all had 3 drinks and you're sitting around the bar with 7 people and they say, Joe, what do you do? That's a different type of environment that you're in, as would be if you're in a, let's say, an industry roundtable with 15 people sitting around the table and they say, okay, we're going to start by everybody give your name and go around the table, tell us what you do. Each one of those is a different environment and the same message would not go out to each one. Now, just as an example, if you have a business card, you usually have one message on your business card and you hand that business card out to everyone. Now, what if you had, pick them up here, 21 business cards and each one had a different message on it. And depending who you were meeting, you would give that business card with that message specifically tailored for that individual. that's what we're going to talk about today, is so that you have 21 or however many bullets you want in your gun. You have 21 different messages that you can give people to engage them and start the dialogue and start talking about what you do. Now, one of the other things before I get into our process, I want to really emphasize, when we're meeting people, our delivery, our confidence, the way we handle ourselves is as important as what we say. And this is the same thing that's true in public speaking. I get a lot of people, what I coach with, and they're trying to remember their speech, and they're focusing so much on remembering their speech that they're not looking at the audience. And the trick to being a great speaker is to know your subject so well that you don't have any attention on your subject. You can look at the audience and you can talk to the audience. And the same thing's true here. You need to know your messages so well that you can look at the person you're talking to and engage them, because you're letting your personality come out, you're making that connection, and you want to be able to deliver communication without hesitation, without reservation, effortlessly to them, so you can engage in conversation. So therefore, it's got to be clear in your mind what you're saying. And I've, like most of you, have heard people, we say, what do you do? And the first word out of their mouth is, I sort of, right there, you've lost me. What do you do? And you're starting to and ah and hem and haw, and you don't know what you do. Now, there's a formula that I talk a lot about in public speaking, and that is that in message clarity, no matter how clear it is in your mind, it will be less clear in the mind of your audience, because there is a transmission that happens, and you got to go through the labyrinth of confusion and other thoughts that are going on in that audience, and it's going to be less clear there. So you need to have your message as clear as you can have it to really make things work. And so that's what we're going to go today, is how do you do this so that you can actually create the clearest message that you want. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. This is a dynamic process. It's not a static process. You don't come up with one phrase and that handles you for the rest of your life to every audience, or you don't come up with 3 phrases. I am constantly engaging with people, testing different things, talking to different people, and seeing what works, and sort of putting that in my, as my mentor used to tell me, you have a card deck, you have an extra card in your deck to play if you ever need it. So I'm always working on how can I refine the message and what's going to relate to the person that I'm talking to. So with that being said, let's get into my actual PowerPoint presentation here, and I'll pull this up. This is where we're going to walk through how to put this together. And there's 7 points I want you to look at. Now, I want you to understand what I'm looking for on each one of these is a very short, concise phrase. And we're going to do, ideally, we're going to give you enough time to probably do one right now. In the future, I'd like you to go back and see if there's 2 or 3 ways you can describe each one of these, and then each one of those gives you more to talk about. So looking at this, the first thing is, what do you do? Can you make a clean statement about what you do? And what I'm looking for is just a very simple, if you're a personal injury attorney, you'd say, I'm a personal injury attorney. I don't want you to get really flowery right now. Just put down what you do. I'm going to give you maybe 15 more seconds here, so we'll stay on time. Okay, so the next question I want you to ask is, why do you do it? And here's what I'm looking for. What is it you love about what you do? What is your passion for what you do? What is it that excites you about what you do? Okay, we're going to go about 5 more seconds. These people are writing. See a lot of heads down. This is good. Okay, the next question, the next thing to address is, how do you do it? Now, I'm not looking for a dissertation here. I'm looking for something short. And what I'm looking for here is if you are describing some unique characteristic about how you do something, what makes you a little special or gives them an insight into how you're able to be successful doing what you're doing. See if you can write a short sentence that describes how you do what you're doing. See all my students with their heads down. This is good, writing away. Okay, what do we got? About 10 seconds and we'll go on to the next question. So we'll have time for, see how this goes. Okay, the next question is, who is your client? Who do you help? Who do you typically serve? And while you're doing that, what I want to say is I don't expect anybody to get this right completely the first time. This is a starting point to just start breaking out these different components of your message. So just write down something at this point and we'll start to refine it. Next message, the problem. What problem do you solve? I can see some of you solve some very big problems. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one here, number 6. What is the result that you get? If you had to describe to someone what the final product or the final result of your efforts are, how would you describe that? I'm going to give you about 5 or 6 more seconds on this one so we can stay on schedule with our timing. And the last one is, I'd like for you to come up with an analogy of what you do. Is there some way you could describe it, this is like, or similar to, something completely disrelated that would be a fresh idea for someone to look at how you do what you do? And I see some nervous brows wrinkled and people scratching their head. So if you can't get an analogy right away, don't sweat it. Is the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through my answers on this so you can see how I put it together, and hopefully that'll bring the whole picture together for you. Okay, so what we've done here, we've broken out 7 different messages that we can give somebody when they ask us a question. And the other thing was that when I do this, I'm starting to get message clarity in my mind as far as how do I break out my message? Because when somebody asks me, well, what do you do? All these things play into that answer. But when I start thinking sort of on a compartmentalized basis, I know that I can give specific short answers to each one of them. I'm not trying to think of a 35-word sentence. All I need to give them is a 6-word answer. So I'm going to take you through just an example of some of my answers on this next. So let's look, what do I do? Well, I have a management team that specializes in startups and business expansion. Very dry, straightforward. But somebody goes, what do you do? I have a management team that specializes in startups and business expansion. Why do you do that? Well, I love creating winning working environments. To me, going to work should be the best part of the week, not the worst. So I have a passion. People understand I love doing this. I love creating environments that people love to come to work. That puts an emotional connection in why I do what I do. How do I do it? Well, I turn groups of individuals into a team. And I can go on and talk about all sorts of things, but how do you do it? Turn groups of individuals into a team. Who's my client? Companies with unique or disruptive products, and typically $10 million or more in sales. Now I'll just give you a little hint. We can talk about this later as well. There's a number of ways to say things that position it properly. And one of the things, as an example in this, you say, well, we look for companies that have unique or disruptive products. And most of the clients that can afford us have at least $10 million in sales. So I put it on the client side instead of I'm demanding they have $10 million in sales. Most of the clients that can afford us have at least $10 million in sales. There's different ways to pitch that. But the point is, I have a clear message on who I'm delivering, who my client base is when I'm talking to the person. Next one is, what problem do I solve? Most companies aren't structured properly, so they can't expand. And the other thing is, most companies hire individuals and never form them into a team where they're all working together to accomplish a common goal. That's the problem I solve. And number 6 here, what's my result? A viable and productive business. And another way I also say that is we can typically double the sales in a company in 6 months. Now that usually gets people's attention right away because sales is a real hot button in most businesses. So if I'm talking to someone, I said, yeah, most companies, we can double the sales in 6 months. That's a product, a deliverable that we send out there. Now, the last one I have is on my analogies. There's a couple I have. I said, we revive the dead. And that always gets people, that sort of wakes them up. And that one's good if you're sitting in like a round table and people go around, tell us what you do. And you come around and say, hi, my name's Lance Miller. I revive the dead. And that usually snaps everybody too. They're sort of listening to you at that point. But then I'll follow it up with saying something along the line was, we take dying or struggling companies and bring them back to life into viable, productive organizations. And they go, oh, okay. But I got their attention. The other one I use, I have 3 analogies here. As I'll ask somebody, or we're talking about the Super Bowl, and I'll say, how hard would the NFL team play in the Super Bowl if the owner was the only one that got the ring? And the whole concept here is that most organizations are structured that the top executives and the shareholders reap the profits and the benefits of the organization winning. And you have to create that team. You have to create something where everybody's engaged and everybody's trying to win. And I find a football analogy is a great analogy on that one. And the last one here is what I call the A-team. And again, another way to put that, instead of saying, nobody likes someone boasting about how great they are. It's like, let me tell you what a wonderful executive I am and how great I am. It's like, yeah, please. Okay, so usually what I would say is a lot of our clients say that we're the A team for their C team. And of course, the A team has the analogy of George Papard and, making the plan come together and all the different things that the A team does. But also you have A and C. We're the A team for their C team, but we really make their C team work well. So that's another talking point analogy that I would use. Now, the point is with these, we can start anywhere. So if somebody says, Lance, what do you do? I can say, I take companies and double their sales in 6 months. That's my end result. And they go, wow, how do you do that? Well, I have a management team and we work with startups in business expansion. We work with startups and expanding businesses. And what we do is we take the group of individuals and build them into the team. And once the team comes in, we can normally double the sales in the company. Another thing, they said, well, what do? I turn groups of individuals into a team. That can elicit more response. So how do you do that? What do you do? Well, I revive the dead. It depends on where I am, what group I'm with for the appropriate communication. But the point is, right now with this, I've got 7 cards in my hand to play. I can play a card whenever I want. I don't have just one card to play. Now, I can literally go down on each one of these. What do? I probably have 5 or 6 things I say what I do. I have 5 or 6 things I can say for why I do. I have 5 or 6 things to say how I do it, depending on how much detail I want to get into. But I've identified and clarified my message. And here's the other point I want to make. I know my messages. So when I'm talking, I'm not having to be thinking about what my message is. I can have my attention on the person I'm talking to, sharing that. And I want to make one clarification for this, because I've seen people in the speaking business do this, but I've seen people with their elevator pitch do this too. A lot of people try to memorize their response. Now, by committing something to memory, you're committing a certain set of words to your mind versus knowing it. Now, the example I give is most of you know how to drive to work. You know your way around the city. You didn't have to remember to go down 2 blocks and turn right. You know where you're going. And if something goes awry, you can go around the block or you can hop on another street. If you're in a foreign town or someplace, you might have to memorize how to go someplace because you don't know the streets. The same thing's true with memorizing things. If you memorize something to say it, you have to say those words in that order. And if you miss a word, just like when we were in school and we memorized a poem and we had to get up in front of the class and say it, if we screwed up a word, we had to start over and say it again. You don't want to memorize your stuff. You want to know what you're going to say, so your attention and your focus is on the individual you're talking to, and you can engage them with your answers. So with that so far, Roberta, let's move over to the Q&A and keep this on schedule.
All right, Lance, gosh, even I was taking all these notes and doing it as you were. One of these days, I'll share with you my analogy, but let's go to the questions. Let's first start with, I think you've already answered this from Richard, but let's just make sure. Lance, you have your steps numbered. Do you need to be in that order, or do you just mix them up to fit the situation?
You mix them up for whatever's going to be right and how you feel at the time.
Correct.
Personally, from my standpoint, I go with a lot of just, what do I feel like saying right now? It's like there's not a real big hierarchy, but it's like, how do I feel if I'm feeling really flippant and I've had 2 beers? I'm going to say something different than if I'm more stoic and conservative. Okay.
Oh my heavens, help us. Heaven help us. Lance, and the next question is, at the very beginning, your very first slide said 30 seconds to elevate your elevator pitch. 30 seconds too long these days?
I think 30 seconds is too long. I was timing a lot of the people when Norma Lynn was going around, and the times were running between 10 and 28 seconds. I think about a 10-second response is about what's proper. And here's what you're looking for. You can have 30 seconds worth of communication, but you want to engage the person in dialogue. And so let's just say you had an opportunity in the dialogue to have 3 10-second statements, but you're not giving them all at once. If I ask a person, hi, I'm meeting them at a mixer or a Rotary Club or something like that, and I said, I haven't met you, what do you do? And they say, I'm a personal injury attorney specializing in motorcycle accidents and leg injuries against major manufacturers and representing clients against insurance companies that have maximum, insurance benefit. It's like, what? No, just tell me you're a personal injury attorney, right? And then we can dialogue on that.
All right, good. I'm going to switch over to an online question because, as Corey was our guest speaker a couple of times on using LinkedIn, how do I use this information you gave us today to reach out to potential contacts on LinkedIn?
Well,
to
first of
develop
all,
your business?
Yeah, exactly. First of all, LinkedIn, the best thing you want to do is get a dialogue going with someone. And if any of us are on LinkedIn, know that we get these automatic responses that are coming through, that they're not tailored to us. And one of the most successful things you can do on LinkedIn is to show some connection or why you're talking to someone. This is a personal communication I'm giving you. So this gives you depending on who you're talking to, where they are in the organization, what type of organization they're in, what type of activity you're trying to engage them in, it gives you a whole library of phrases to use depending on what's right. The other thing I would recommend is trying different ones and see which one actually gets the best response, because we don't know this until we survey it and we test it from that standpoint. And then once you get the dialogue going, you have a number of phrases that you can put in, and this is what our clients say, and this is what I do. So it gives you a lot of very clear dialogue that you don't have to be recreating all the time. You know your message you want to get across to the person.
Yeah, great. Steve Ryan is on, and he had an excellent question. Steve, I mean, this is good. Lance, you'll love this one. What do you like to say on your way out of the elevator so you can be remembered?
Okay.
Steve, well,
no, that's okay. I just, I have a couple lines that I use, and it depends on the setting, okay? But there's a number of people that have come up to me, and I'm talking to them in an elevator, and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it to your seminar today." And I'll just say, "Well, that's okay. Your life will be the same." Okay, and what I'm saying is, people go, I heard me talk, they go, "Oh my gosh, that was incredible. My life will never be the same." And they go, "I can't make it today." And I said, "That's okay. Your life will be the same." And I would have to think, Roberta, I've got a number of them. I didn't actually put that on the list. I have, like I said, I got a number of cards in my deck to say. I'll think about that while we're talking, but it depends on who the person is. So.
I love it. I love it. Another question that came in is, the question is, for me, the most difficult and most important, as it shows your success magic. Could you give some more examples? The one with a team was excellent.
Wait, I didn't understand. Oh, what your success or your result is?
Right. Okay,
so this is where you need to have some clarity and have done your homework on what you do. And let's just say that what results do you get? Okay, and we say, well, we build successful teams, which give us viable, expanding businesses, or we can double the sales in 6 months in a company.
Okay.
And then I can basically say, as an example, we went into a law firm that was stuck at their client intake, and it was one of the most successful law firms in the United States dealing in a specific area of law. Once we walked through our process, we were able to 4x the size of the law firm within 3 months of implementing our program. It took us 9 months to get the program in, but it took us 4 months to implement it. We 4x the size of the firm in that 4 months. I give them an example. We took a company in the internet. We took a company in IT with a specific software application that was doing $4 million in sales and drove it up to 50 million, and Microsoft bought it. First offer was somewhere over 400 million, and I don't know where they ended up. Okay. So I give some some examples of what we've talked about. And then if people want to drill down on that, we can drill down on. So what I would recommend to whoever is asking this question is look at the different clients that you've had and the different results you've gotten. So you have some real things to talk about, who you've helped. And again, this is a PR action. So you don't have to talk about how bloody and nasty it was. Give them your successes, because most organizations I've been involved in have been a little bloody and nasty, but yet at the same token, I had some successes.
I know you have. Lance, how can this be adapted when speaking to elected officials?
Wait, well, I want to understand the question properly. When speaking to elected officials,
when speaking to elected, because a lot of times, Lance, you and I are in various government meetings, and they say, we have to introduce ourselves before as we're taking the floor.
Okay, well, I would reverse it, because typically what I'm trying to do is make viable, productive companies so we have a high employment and we have a successful business base. What I need from you to do that, I would reverse my talking points, because if from a government official, I haven't had that question before when I'm looking at what I'm wanting from the government official is a positive business environment that I can expand my business and not be held down to red tape and regulations and everything that just kills my business in the process of it. What I need from you is the ability to build businesses and employ people so that they're employed and self-sustaining individuals. That's what I'm trying to put out here. And so we don't have people standing in line in unemployment. I mean, that's the first thing I would think of that I would want to talk to about. Or the other thing is, here's what I've done in businesses and what would help me from the government. But what I'm going to be looking at from a government official is what policies or laws are they going to be passing, regulations are they going to be passing that's either going to make it easier for me to operate or harder for me to operate.
Okay. Walter has an interesting question about approach, because so many people don't understand technology, is to ask what they do, ask them what they do. Then in 20 seconds, he can relay exactly how you can help their particular vertical business. And have you practiced this? Walter, I know he practices this, but Lance, why don't you give an answer to Walter, please?
First of all, we have 15 minutes to present and some Q&A. The title of this is How You Present. Now, you want to talk about how to engage dialogue and with new people. That's a different subject. So we're talking about message clarity here. Okay. So it's like, how do you, and just so you know, one of my standard things is, and I always say the best pickup line I ever came up with. Okay. I've shared this with Roberta. She knows what it is. So, back when our younger days and I'm going out to the bars, I'm trying to meet girls. The best pickup line was this: excuse me, we haven't met. Okay. And I use that worldwide now when I'm out at conferences. I don't know anybody. I walk over, excuse me, we haven't met. My name's Lance. And I'll go, well, what do you do? And I usually I've been in enough businesses that I can have 3 or 4 or 5 questions. I'll talk to them about their business. I'm really interested in their business. And then eventually they'll ask me what I do. But quite honestly, I'm not covertly trying to pitch them on my business. I'm genuinely interested in their business because I'm trying to figure out, is there something in that business that I could be a benefit to, or I have another product that would be benefit? How is this person someone that I want to know well enough, so if I have something come on my plate, I can call them up and talk to them about. And I want to just, with that, I was talking about the promotion aspects on this earlier. Almost everything I do in my life is on a referral basis. I don't do a lot of broad-based marketing and email campaigns and Facebook ads. I don't do that. Almost everything I know is based on shaking hands, people I know, people know what I do, and it comes in. And I built a very strong base off that. And then I'm always looking for people in an industry that I can contact and get assistance from if I need, if I have a project that comes up in a new industry. So.
All right, great. Lance, we've got just a couple minutes before I return control to Norma Lynn. Some final comments, maybe could revert back to what you said in the beginning and setting the stage. Any final words of wisdom for our audience?
The big thing I've found, and this is just personally, because there were, early days of my life where I was trying to figure out how I fit in and who am I when I go out, and you're trying to mingle with people and find opportunities. And really it was the introspection and getting the clarity on my own products, my own value, and then having the confidence in that confidence, when that confidence started to exude out, that's when my opportunities started to come, because people saw the confidence and the clarity in my communication. Now, the 7 questions I've given you, if you really take some time and play with them, come up with different ideas, I don't care, get together with 2 or 3 people in a group and shoot ideas back and forth with each other on how you could describe things. Have fun with it. Go out and try different things and see how different people responded. And just as an example, I've thrown out that reviving the dead comment. And sometimes I get great responses on it. And sometimes it is like a freaking dead flounder at a wedding. Okay. It's like, what did he just say? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Now you have to have enough confidence. So you go, well, that didn't work. I'm not going to do that one again with this group, but start. That's the big thing. Start, work those 7 questions, come up with some good analogies, start playing with them, and get the twinkle in your eye. That is the twinkle in your eyes. I say the bounce in the step, where again, why do you do what you do? What do you love about why you do? What do you love about what you do? That's what people are looking for. They're looking for that emotional, that heart connection with somebody who loves what they do. They're passionate about it. And, they're not doing it as a job or because that's what their degree in college is in. They're doing it because they love doing what they're doing, and they know they're going to do a great job on it. And that's where the human connection takes place.
Yeah, so well said, Lance. I loved how you opened today with it's live. This communication is live. Again, we asked him to come and talk about when you get hit with that question, what do you do? So I love the 7 steps that you've given, the way we can mix and match depending on the environment we're in, depending on the person we're standing in front, always to have our delivery with self-confidence. It's a dynamic process. And most importantly, to be interested in the person in front of us. It's always, and you say that over and over again, and I truly, truly respect that, love that. Lance, you are a master. Thrilled that you could be with us today. It is St. Patty's Day. I'm surprised you don't have one of those green beers or the...
Well, day's not over yet.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And I know I owe you one after this as well. And as I return the control back to Norma Lynn, I will give you the Irish blessing that I grew up with. May the saddest day of the future be no worse than the happiest day of your past. And with that, happy St. Patty's Day. Back to you, Norma Lynn Cutler.
Thank you, Roberta. And Lance, really, thank you. I'm never sure though if it's a twinkle in my eye or some dust. Sometimes it's confusing, but then that's me. Tim will be putting all of our contact information into the feed. So if you want to reach out to Roberta, Susie, Heidi, or myself, you'll know exactly where to go. And after you call us, we'll tell you where to go too. So thank you for joining us for this. I think every one of us got something different out of it. Even those of us who are seasoned old timers at Toastmasters learned a thing or two. And we'd like to invite you to next month's invitation to tomorrow today. I'm not reading your notes. It'll be Wendy Moody, who is absolutely, no doubt about it, the guru of technology as it relates to live entertainment. She has 2 companies that she's president of. I won't go into that, but she has incredible expertise that it was garnered while working at a live producer at Walt Disney Imagineering. So she's the gold standard. There's no doubt about it. And she's going to be talking to us about new market technologies that we can use to make our services even more vibrant than they already are. So watch for your invitation, and we'll be doing this again, and hopefully you'll be here with us doing it. Thank you again for everything and for coming.
Happy St. Patty's Day.